Michael Nagy here with Jiggy Jag TV, and I'm here with the band, the Clay People. How you doing today?
All right. Excellent. Good to be here.
Cool. You want to give us a little history about the band for anyone that doesn't know?
Well, you know, you said before that you had discovered us by downloading some music.
Exactly,
and,
I was downloading some, Disturbed and Static X and stuff.
Sure,
It came with Clay
sure.
People, and I was like, this is a really good band. And I was wondering, are you associated with those bands? Or?
Well, we were from, we kind of got pushed into or were welcomed into the new metal scene back in the late 90s, and then we put out our first major label release in '98 with the single Awake. And Awake was on like a couple soundtracks, Gene Schneider's Strangeland and Universal Soldier: The Return. So that's where we started. That's where we started actually getting out there a little bit more.
But you started as industrial though, right?
Sure, right. We don't.
So you just got grouped in the new metal.
Right, but although we started out like that, we don't really. We still embrace the elements of that, but we're not really in that scene at all. Not that we can't play with them or we don't have friends there, but Fear Factory, of course, one of the bands that helped us out over the years back in the day, and worked on Iron Icon when we put that out. Okay,
cool. Now I know you guys have been around for a while. There's been changes with the sound and stuff. So you want to give us a little history of how the sound changed over time?
In '96 or '97, Brian and I were kind of looking at the elements of the band. And we decided that there were certain things that we wanted to change, and what we were looking for was to take out some of the cold elements that we had going on and warm it up with some more organic elements. So we brought in certain members and made it more of a live band, which at the time brought in Dan Dinsmore, who is the foundation of the band now, our drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Help me out here.
Well, I brought the metal element and the psychedelia element into the band, so I come from. When I joined the band in '94, I was coming from more like Sepultura, Pantera type sound, and I was a fan of Clay People, and which Dan's the only member left from that era, and I thought Clay People was ahead of its time, and then I got the opportunity to jump on board, and eventually it just morphed what I was doing. Blended in. We just blended over the years too. To right now, I feel like we've just hit upon what we were hinting at back in '95.
Yeah, really? I totally agree with that.
Yeah, like I feel like this record, I'm hearing stuff like, wow, this is what we were when we were doing demos and recording in '95. Like it's coming to fruition now, and it's been a painful journey, but what birth isn't really,
And we touched on elements of it with the self-titled record, and then of course after that we did a whole record or a whole EP without any electronics in there, which is the Headhunter demos. Although there's 2 songs on there that do have, it's not totally gone, but really embracing the live element of the band and the vibe that we do live. Okay?
Do you still do any electronic stuff live?
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, that's what Demon Hero is, the return of laying in those elements and bringing, kind of getting back to like the roots of the band, and blending it in. And what Brian's kind of getting at is that it's the blend of the organic band and having some of our roots mixed all back in together. And
the analog and the digital coming together. Right. This record is the synthesis of what we've been going for over 20 years now.
Wow.
Right.
So we were, when I joined the band, it was heavy agro industrial, and then we got away where we did I think there was hardly any electronics on the Waking the Dead record either, so we got away for a couple records where there was nothing, and now it's full on everything, and we're really happy with how it came out.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
And finally getting out Demon Hero, like Brian said, was just a long journey. Dan Dinsmore said it was like 3 years for us to get it, recorded, so we could get back out there again.
Yeah, it took really 5 years actually. It was just over 5 years from when it started to release, and so
make sure to put out a masterpiece.
I
don't know if we were going for masterpiece, but the way I look at it, you may look at it differently, but at this point it was like, let's do the record we always wanted to do. We had the opportunity. Danny Dinsmore, our drummer, has a fantastic business, but so he had a great studio for us to go into. We took our time with it, and the thing with Clay People back then, and what kind of connects it now, is that we really like the music we play. We enjoy playing Clay People music. Yeah. And even when we were doing the record, it's like, well, and it was finished, and I remember saying to Brian, like, if nobody likes this record, I love this record, and this is everything that we wanted to be years ago, and the response from it is exactly what I was hoping it would be for.
That's great.
Hoping it would be. You got to help me out because I'm stumbling on my words.
Well, I'm also wondering, you guys took a hiatus for a while, right? Did that help in the process?
Absolutely.
It's kind of like when a band first starts out, they put out some, everybody knows that's like some of their best stuff. They've been working it for years, and it's very rare you get a second opportunity in the music business. But we had that chance too to just take all this new material and just really work it, and make it what it is and how it came out on the record. And although when we were finished recording it, and it sounded, to this particular level, and everybody liked it, it wasn't until Danny and Brian came in and produced the record, and were the ones that embraced and brought back the electronic element of the band and make sure that everything was in there evenly and that we could still hear like what we say, all our favorite bleeps and bloops and in the music.
Yeah. For me, how this record, the Demon Hero record, came about was I moved to New York about 9 years ago, and a year or two after I moved there, I get a call from Dan Dinsmore, and he's like, hey, well, I think we should write a bunch of material and just spring it on the guys and see what happens, with not even tell anybody. So, at first I was like, I don't know, I was kind of enjoying the hiatus and doing other things and stuff, but then I slept on it, and I immediately just started coming up with ideas and recording demos. And then Dan called me about a year later or something saying he wanted to re-record and re-release the Stone album from '96, but he wanted to redo Strange Day, and would I come up and record it? And I was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll come up. And it was such a pleasant experience. At the end of it, I said, hey, I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I have like 12 demo ideas. And Dan Dinsmore was like, book a session. And I was like, whoa, okay. And then, so I went back home and I'm like, I don't even know if these songs, if there's anything here. So I wrote 10 more ideas. So I went into the studio with like 22 ideas. And I didn't really have anybody to bounce anything off of. Nobody listened to anything. So I just went in with an engineer and went one down to another, boom, boom, boom. I recorded to my demos, and then Dan Dinsmore came in and played drums to it. And then Dan was just getting the stuff as we were going. And
I got to interrupt you, but just to put it in there, like the first thing that I had heard was Gen RX, right? And I'm listening to this, and I was like, holy cow, we've never even done anything like this. And listening to the drums and the guitar and that, and I was completely blown away. It was so out of the box for us, but it still had that drive and that feel. And I have to admit, and I'm proud that he did it. But Brian had an idea for this song, and I just have to say this because it's such a big deal for me. But I've written all the lyrics for the Clay People and the melodies from the beginning, and I used to program and all that, and this song, I'm hearing it, I'm loving it, and I didn't know what to do with it. I had no idea, and I finally defeated. I was so defeated. I called Brian up, and I was like, then understand this is months of trying to come up with something for this song, and that doesn't really happen. And I said to him, Brian, you got to help me out with this. You just got to tell me where you're coming from this. So he went and wrote the lyrics, and he sang a melody for this tune, which put me right into it, and that just shows the camaraderie of this band. And and I'll say this real quick, it's just that we work so well together because our communication is so good.
That's important.
Okay. Now
it's gotten better over the years. It wasn't easy, it wasn't always that way.
Well, it's like brothers.
We've grown,
right.
To the point where we can almost finish each other's sentences, I guess.
So do you have ideas for our next record coming up? Or
I have like 75 to 100 demo ideas.
Yeah.
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 I came up.
What kind of direction are you thinking?
Well, now,
I mean,
hold on.
It could go in many
We
directions.
can't
but-
tell you that. You know, even if it was happening, you know, you just got to be surprised for the next record. You know, the focus right now is Demon Hero, and getting Demon Hero out and letting people listen to it and see that, you know, we finally connect the dots from the self-titled, actually from Stone to the self-titled to the Headhunter record, Waking the Dead, and then this one, which is the culmination of all that, which puts us kind of in a third wave of Clay people almost.
Yeah.
You know, the band is by far the best it's ever been since we started. Live, and the music speaks for itself. You know, we're very proud of it.
It's really the most fun we've ever had with it. It's really bizarre because we've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
And it's more fun now than it ever was before.
I can tell
Right.
you guys seem stoked. It's awesome.
It's really
Right.
even strange to us because
Yeah.
the chemistry of the band that we have right now, where we're laughing half the time. We practice, like, we spend half the time just hanging out and laughing and, you know, and enjoying each other's company too, you know. And a lot of
You
times
don't
before
feel the
there was
pressure.
yeah, and there was like, you know, tugs
Sure.
and things like that going on, and now it's like, wow, it's so easy.
Right,
Yeah.
which was key for us putting together the live band to support this record.
Mhm.
And you know, everybody that we have involved are actually friends of ours. You know, we were guilty of putting together a super group before when we did the self-titled record. We're guilty of it again. You know, putting together you know, a super group of friends that we knew could do this.
We've been
do
lucky
this.
like that.
Right. So
Guys
actually,
come out of the woodwork to help us out.
right, and for the album, our friend Vegas came in and did a lot of backup vocals, you know. And
That's
I'm
cool.
like, you know what, I need this element in the band. I don't know if I'm quite there yet. I know you can do it. He came in, and I was just gonna have him do one song. He ended up doing like over half the record,
Really?
backup vocals on it, you know. And of course, you know, he did what I had there, which was fantastic, you know. And there was no ego, there was nothing. You know, he just did what he needed to do, almost, you know, because he's a friend.
Yeah.
You know, which is important in this scene. And then Eric Bramer came in to take over the bass, which of course started a camaraderie between him and Brian. And I can't even explain it, but you know, sometimes it gets a little weird.
No, we're like long lost brothers, but
No
he
doubt
goes
about
back too. He tried out for us in like '99 and in '90. I think he tried out for guitar before me in
Brian did,
'94.
yeah.
So we all go back to the early '90s together.
Well,
and
hang on. You never tried out for the band.
no, but I didn't say I tried out. He tried out before I became the.
I was rehearsing one day and I'm looking over and I'm like, who is this? Who is this guy? You know, and he just came in and just started playing and no one questioned it for like a year. You know, that's absolutely not true. None of it. I saw Brian played in this great hardcore metal band in upstate New York called Negative Outlook, and a friend of mine said, you need to go see this band. And I went and saw this band, and they blew me away. They were so good. And Brian's stage presence was so much fun. I watched him more than I watched the singer. He's also a really good guy too. Don't get me wrong, okay? Jerry, that's your plug. But I said to him afterwards, I was like, you know, if you're ever thinking about doing something else, you know, call me up. Let me know because I would like to have you, you know, in the Clay People.
That's
and,
cool.
You know, you just need to audition because what I saw him doing and how innovative he is as a guitar player, he's the only one I've ever met who takes his guitar as a metal guitar player and tries to think of like how it would sound coming out of a sequencer or out of a sampler, or you know he just.
Well, it was kind of
has
that
no
was out
idea.
of a necessity because Clay People was such an electronic band for so long, and then when I got to this point where we didn't have an electronics, and I was like, okay, and we had another guitar player, so why should we do the same thing? So I was trying to think of melodic and rhythmic ideas that might have been there had there been electronics.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like, you know, it was just for that to like, you know, just add something because I missed those elements too. You know, like wow,
Sure.
there's a lot of really cool stuff. You know, sometimes there was too much electronics for me. I like you know, to be
Balance.
yeah, like
Right,
seasoning.
no,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
right,
So
sure.
like, you know, that's where I was coming, and I still come at that from like that. When I do demos, I'll like try to think to leave space for where there might be maybe no guitar and just have electronics, and I'll do something wacky on guitar, which might get cut later, but it's as like a space holder for another, you know, drum and bass or for synthesizers or something, or maybe the guitar ends up staying in there. You know what I mean? But I'm thinking that way from the get-go.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and you know when we kind of kind of rethought out what we were going to do with the Clay People, with the Stone record. You know, at the time I was, which is culminated now. We see it now, but I was looking for a combination of like Lords of Acid, rhythmically, and Pantera, or like Meat Beat Manifesto and Ministry. That's what I wanted, you know. And Brian came in and said, "Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna play some Tool stuff. And I'm gonna play some Pink Floyd influenced stuff." And I was like, "Well, somehow this is working," you know. And we hit on it with a few songs, you know, like like Pariah, Stone. Mind, you know, and then Awake.
And then Dan Dinsmore, when he adds the drums, it's unlike anything we would have thought of. Too, because he's coming at it from none of those influences.
Right.
He's way, you know.
Right.
And so he's adding his whole rhythmic sensibilities, which is completely unique, and so he's like the artillery, and we're up in the infantry up front, you know, and just. We've been so blessed that he's been playing with us for so long, over 20 years, that it's like wow, having him behind us, it's like he just hits the snare and the kick drums, like, okay, well, I know where he is, I just gotta keep my shit up, you know. Right. And now he can Dan Dinsmore, you know, from the back, you know, now not only takes care of the foundation of the band, but he also controls Commander Chaos also.
Oh, really?
So between the two of them in the back, you know, we not only have the rhythm and the electronics are now combined in one mind, you know, in Danny, because he has full control of that. You know, outside maybe some of the sampling that Vegas does, but and then which you know, of course makes me the maniac that I am on stage. You know, I couldn't do this. I could not do Clay People without these guys. And even recently, we realized, like, no matter what happens, you know, if the world's coming to an end, we will definitely play our last show together. Why it's burning
it's like
apart,
family,
falling
yeah.
apart. Right.
I always look at it as like the guys in the Titanic playing, you know, and they're like, "Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure." You know? And the one guy keeps playing, and they all just come back together and keep on playing, you know? Because I see the way things are going, and I'm like, I don't know how much humanity's going to be around, or things are going to be like they are with AI and nuclear stuff and whatever. But I really just want to have a good time playing music.
Right.
You know,
Well,
with my
that's what
friends,
it's all about.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or doing art or whatever, we're all artists, we're all creative beings, you know what I mean? But we have this thing together. It has a really, we love the chemistry of it. People seem to be responding incredibly to it. They're loving the new record.
Right.
And the shows have been incredible. Stabbing Western's been nice enough to have us on the show.
Is this a whole tour you're doing?
Just a couple dates right now. You know, we're just we haven't toured in a long time, so you know, we're just taking it slow right now.
And we got a run coming up in December.
Down
Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky.
I was gonna say, I haven't seen any tours from you guys recently.
Yeah, December we'll be doing a run.
Right, and then I'm not gonna mention any names, but there's some other stuff in the works for you know, after the new year. Right now, it's about our media exposure. You know, the new single Colossus is charting. The video is fantastically fun. It's, you know, being the horror movie comic book geek that I've been my whole life. You know. And Brian being a fan of, like, you know, classic monster movies and things.
It's like a dream come true.
That
video is a total dream come true.
And
the next one is a dream come true for him.
Yeah, right. And, you know, and Danny comes and throws this in our face, like everything that I've ever wanted in a video, he did in Colossus, and you know, and I'm not this kind of guy. I'm a very private person. I really, you know, I need my space, and I gave him a hug, which I've never done in 20 years with Dan Dinsmore, and I think he was a little confused from it, but you know, he worked through it. I was like, just work through it. It'll be okay, and it was okay. But yeah, we need the record. It needs to do what it's doing. It needs to incubate a little bit, right? And there's just great stuff. I know I mentioned Generation X earlier, and then I just mentioned Colossus. You know, the title track, Utopian Lie. You know, we touch on a lot of topics, you know, throughout the record, and it's questions that we all have, you know, and I know that I'm not expressing anything that the rest, you know, I know there's people out there like us that are thinking the same thing, you know, and you know, when I was a kid, I've never forgotten the thing, you know, I've never forgotten the words to question authority, and that there needs to be checks and balances. We come across with that message quite a bit on this record. I know you had said with let me get myself together. With Illuminatus,
Yeah.
for example,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I had written under a certain theme with what I know. I was trying to tap into Brian's psyche, and I'll be honest with you, I stepped into that house for a minute and realized, like, I'm not going to stay in here for too long, you know?
What's interesting though is he mentions David Bowie and Lemmy, and they both died within a year of us recording the song too.
Right,
It's really
right.
bizarre.
When that was written, actually, they
And
had,
prophetic in a way.
right. They had the lyrics were written after Lemmy died, but before Bowie died.
That's right. That's right.
And it just came out. It wasn't a conscious thought when I did it. You know, it just kind of worked. You know, obviously they were on my mind, and you know, two very influential stars. And then I make also I also make a comment about Jim Morrison in the same song. And I know now, looking back, and my history for the last 5 years, that it was my subconscious, like, letting me know that, you know, I need to be aware of how Jim Morrison handled himself, and make sure that I don't try to, like, embrace that guy, you know. Although, you know, I definitely, like, tip off of him, and I, you know, as much as I tip off of Bowie or Peter Murphy with my vocal style, part of it. We're still a little bit more eclectic than that, but
Michael Bolton in there too. Maybe?
Michael
McDonald?
Bolton. Michael Bolton.
Don't worry, don't think about it. Remember, he's gonna have a lot of editing
Don't
to do on
make
this one.
my
okay?
head explode.
Oh, this is good stuff here.
Well, you know what?
Remember how we said that it was gonna be a
I
short
mean, there's a
interview?
lot of history with the band, so this is great.
Honestly,
This
you
is
know, I was going
great.
to say this earlier, but and I have to say it because it's funny, but I'll call Brian, you know, and I brought it up to him one day because, you know, I always knew this, and you know, like, I would call and he wouldn't answer, you know, because I could get on the phone with him. I can keep him on the phone for like 2 hours. You know?
I have to
So-
choose my phone calls wisely.
So
I'm like,
I would say,
it's
I have to
bad.
tell him ahead of time, this is only the 10-minute Dan, you know, it's not going to be the 2-hour Dan. So I can get him on the phone for a minute. Because we just go back and forth about, you know, always about music. We're always dissecting something and relating with it. And of course, it's all relative to
Yeah,
our
you're pretty
lives.
much just
That's
sitting
'cause
in
you
on
wanna
our,
get-
on
you
our
wanna-
this is what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to get in depth, you know
Right,
what I mean?
right. Well, you know, Brian coming in the band was which gave me the courage to not be so safe with what I was doing with the music that I was writing.
That's interesting you bring that up. Yes, because we, especially Dan Dinsmore, Dan and myself, and you mentioned this before in another video, we push ourselves outside of our comfort zones.
Right.
And I don't
Well, that's
think we don't,
important,
but we
actually.
don't do it like consciously. I don't think.
Yeah,
We're
right.
always like pushing ourselves somehow to, there's some abstract bar that we're shooting for, and the other guys are like helping us get there.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
But it's like this unconscious, unspoken thing.
Right.
You know.
When I've written songs in the past, you know, and it's very rare that I do this, but if I write something on the guitar, I'm trying to write something as if it's like, how would Brian approach this, for example, you know, and it's way off, you know, and then, but at least I can give him that, and he's like, you know, I'm like, just take off with this, you know, I don't care if it's even like what I just wrote, just let it be like the direction that I'm thinking of. And we do a lot of like, can you do a little or you know, and we try to make, you know, the sounds like, you know, I try to verbalize it with sound sometimes. And, you know, I remember years ago when we were writing My Exploding Head, I go, well, this is what I'm thinking for the drums, you know, and I'm like,
got that vision,
and I'm trying to like beatbox, you know, and of course then I ended up going like, well, can you just bring the dynamic down here and bring it up here, and I don't care what you play, but can you put feedback in here? And then Brian's like, we do a key change here, and yeah, and that's how, you know, that's how it works. But yeah, definitely, I think that's a great way of looking at it. You know, we definitely push each other out of our comfort zones, and we definitely pushed ourselves out of that comfort zone with the Demon Hero record.
That's how you create good art, though. I mean,
Right,
push-
right. Well,
yeah.
it's about evoking an emotion, you know, and we had a lot of evoked emotions, like, all right, you know, because we still fight like brothers and stuff, which, you know, even if we get mad at each other, it's over with hours or within the next day. Because the one thing that I always get upset about the most is that I let myself get angry about something as simple as like fighting over a part. Now I'm to the point where I just want to let things go. Looks like they're starting downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
That's- I think
wrap
that's- I
this
think
up.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's all
I think,
good.
I think you ran out
So-
of videotape. You still use? Do everyone didn't know what videotape is anymore?
So to finish up, if anyone wants to look you guys up, find your music, how do they do that?
What the same website or web address we've had since '95, which is claypeople.com.
Okay.
Claypeople, the Claypeople on Facebook, or theclaypeople.com. Right, theclaypeople.com or claypeople.com will get you there. The Claypeople on Facebook.
Clay people.
Sounds like you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah.
We're just wrapping up now because
Good.
they
It's
gotta
like
go.
a three-parter. You're in the way. Dan did more.
So basically, all social media,
Yes,
YouTube,
right. And
Twitter,
And if you want to get the
Facebook.
album
Yeah.
digitally, Dan, can you tell us where you can get the album digitally?
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah, all right.
Check out the Colossus
I mean,
videos.
Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes. It's
Spotify,
available on all formats right now.
Great, great.
And then of course being traditionalists, we have CDs. We did vinyl for this also.
Oh wow,
And we're looking into putting out even some 7-inches.
that's cool.
All right, Batman.
That's cool. Well, it's good talking
All right.
with you.
Yeah,
Look
it was
them
great.
up.
Thank you so much.
And thank
Thank
you.
you.